All right, welcome back. We're on to episode 3 in the Hermetic Principles series. This principle that we're going to talk about today is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. All right, so let's get a couple of things out of the way from the get-go. You're not just a bunch of muscles, opinions, and unresolved trauma. You're a walking frequency. Everything about you is moving. Your thoughts, your emotions, your nervous system, your jitters when haven't had your coffee for the morning. It's all vibrating all the time. So in this episode, in the series, we're going to talk about the principle of vibration. I'm going to do my best to leave out the fluff, the fairy dust. If you're into that, which I don't mind, I like a bit of woo. If you're into that, brilliant. If you're not, please know that I am doing my best to provide you with some evidence-based science to back up what I'm going to talk about today. We're going to look at psychology, philosophy, and I guess just some hard truths. You're welcome about the energy that you bring to the table. What do you bring into a room when you enter it, and how does it shape your reality? So as I said, I love me some woo. However, I also really love evidence-based science. I love doing my research and getting the lowdown. So you know what? It doesn't matter whether you're a crystal-loving hippie or you're a science nerd or you're somewhere in between and a mix of everything. It's all good. I trust that you're going to enjoy the episode and that you can translate the language into whatever works for you. Okay? So when I talk about vibration, when I use the word vibration, I'm not talking about something sort of mystical or invisible per se. I'm talking about your internal state, your nervous system, your mood, your body language. The things that people feel before you've even said a word. That's what I'm talking about when I mention the word vibration. When I mention the word frequency, when I talk about frequency, I'm talking about the patterns that you are operating on. Your habits of thought, your habits of emotion, your energy. You're like a living broadcast, and what you tend to put out will echo back. That's what I mean when I'm talking about frequency. All right, so let's kick in. Your emotional state is a frequency. So emotions aren't just abstract feelings. They're biochemical, they're neurological events. They pulse through your nervous system. How you feel emotionally will affect how you feel physically. They're linked and cannot be separated. So imagine it like tuning into a radio station. Your internal frequency will determine what kind of emotional experience you're having. Are you vibrating on guilt FM or are you in, joy FM land? Anyway, I digress, going a bit crazy there with the metaphors. From an actionable perspective though, I challenge you to start noticing how your body feels when you're anxious. How does your body feel when you're calm? This is starting to tune yourself into the internal state that you're in. It's about intentionally checking in. Where am I at? And so a lot of people will use things like breath work and movement, music. It's also a type of emotional regulation. It's about learning how to control your internal state by first really becoming aware of the effects on your body. Mood contagion and energy transfer. Let's talk about that. So through emotional contagion, very cool words, your vibe literally affects other people and vice versa. This is to do with mirror neurons. They make sure that happens. Mirror neurons are a very, very cool thing to look into. A lot of fun. They're a special type of brain cell and they activate not only when you're performing an action, when you're doing something, they also activate when you observe someone else performing that same action. So basically, your brain simulates what it's seeing. It's like a built-in empathy simulator. So an example of this, when you see someone crying, your mirror neurons kick in and you might actually sort of feel a bit teary. When you see someone else smiling, it can be difficult to not smile back. Look at when a baby smiles. How often when a baby starts giggling and smiling, everyone or a lot of people around, their mirror neurons kick in and they start smiling and giggling and whatnot. Same happens with anger, with anxiety. Your mirror neurons will kick in and it makes you feel like a version of what they're feeling. So we are literally wired to catch the emotional state of other people. So this is the mirror neurons and the way that they work. This is part of the reason why, if you've just had a bit of a session talking with, someone and it's all negative, they are just venting lots of negative stuff, you can feel really drained after that. This is why. What about laughter in groups? Have you ever caught yourself laughing in a group at a joke and you don't even actually really get the joke? And yet you're still laughing to the point where, your little bit of pee comes out? Mirror neurons. High stress environments, have you ever walked into a room and just thought, whoa, something heavy has happened in here? And no one's even said anything. You can just feel the tension. Yep, this is what I'm talking about. So in sciencey terms, we're talking emotional contagion. That's what it's called. Feel free to look it up. Check it out for yourself. The vibe translation is that you absorb and broadcast emotional frequency, whether you mean to or not. It's going to happen. Okay? So here's the action I want you to take based on this point that we're talking about. Before you enter into conversations, do a little energy check. What am I bringing into this space? And one for this that has got me in the past, and I've got to watch because it's easy for me to get caught up in, is hangry. When I'm hungry and I enter into a conversation, I notice that I can bring in that automatic kind of hungry tension where I've just got a short wick and I'm snappy and that kind of thing. So check your energy before you enter into conversations. What am I bringing into this space? Because it's going to affect everything you perceive in that conversation. Okay? Let's go on to 3. I've got 8 points that I want to make about this one. So hang in there with me. It's really cool. It's a really cool concept, and I love this theory. Number 3 is cognitive dissonance being a vibrational clash. So cognitive dissonance is a very psychology term. However, I have used it before in previous episodes, so I trust that you're across what it is. Let's break it down a little bit in regards to this Hermetic Principle, though. When your beliefs or your thoughts or your behaviors, when they're out of alignment, it creates an internal tension. Now that creates a jarring vibration within you. Okay? This is the brain's way of telling you, of saying, hey, something's hinky here, something's off. This does not feel good. So what has to happen? You either have to remove yourself from the situation or bring those parts into harmony. Sometimes the way to do that is to get out of the situation. However, that's what you're looking to do, to harmonize those parts that are out of alignment, the beliefs, the thoughts, the behaviors. When you're behaving in a way that doesn't quite chalk up with what you believe, things like that, that's going to reduce the mental stress and will increase clarity. You'll be able to think clearer, feel clearer. So your action to take away from this step is when you're feeling off, when something feels hinky, ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now, is it aligned with what I value and what I believe? That's going to tell you the reason that you're feeling that jarring vibration. Okay? Number 4, nervous system regulation as frequency tuning. It's really cool. Okay, I say that a lot. However, stick with me. Your autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. It regulates your vibe. Okay. The ANS is like your body's autopilot for survival and restoration. So it regulates things that you don't consciously control, like your breathing, your heartbeat, blinking, digestion, pupil dilation, all the things that you don't actually consciously have to think about doing. Your ANS is taking care of all of it, right? Such a clever little thing. It's got two main branches that makes it up. And I'll bring this all together in a minute as to why it's important for the Hermetic principle we're talking about. The first branch is the sympathetic nervous system. And you may have heard of this, the SNS. This is your fight or flight, freeze or fawn part. Your SNS is categorized, or you can feel it by being on high alert. There's a fast heart rate, there's shallow breathing, your muscles will be primed and tensed up, ready to go. Emotionally, it can feel like anxiety or panic or irritability, restlessness. It's like, so from a physiological sense, when your SNS is in full swing, it's like the engine, the V8 is running on high. It's revved up, it's ready to go. You are primed, ready. It's your high frequency state. And it's really useful for when you need those short bursts of action. However, you can imagine how draining it could be if you are stuck there all the time. You'll just bottom out, won't you? Just that high rev all the time. So in welcomes the parasympathetic nervous system, or the PNS. This is also known as your rest and digest system, or the repair and regulate system. All of those things happen in the PNS. This is a slow heart rate, deep breaths, calm body. Emotionally, it feels grounded, it feels present, it feels open, it feels connected. Everything slows down. And from, a psychological perspective, think of how it feels when you feel safe, when you feel connected. Long-term healing happens in here. So this is your chill zone. This is your low and slow frequency. And the PNS, have the PNS running effectively, it's essential for digestion, for immune function, to repair your body, but also for emotional balance and for growth. You need this low and slow frequency to be working powerfully for you. Okay, so why does this matter with these two branches of this system? When people talk about your vibe, what they're mostly talking about is they're picking up which of these systems, the SNS or the PNS, which of these systems is dominant at that time. So you don't just look stressed, you're radiating it, you're emitting it. You don't just look peaceful, you're radiating it, you're emitting it. So your vibe is what they're picking up on, the PNS or the SNS. Your nervous system is broadcasting a signal all day, every day, 24/7. The good news is, though, that it's trainable. You can take control of that. Utilize when you need those systems to kick in at what time and for how long. So here's the action I want you to take away from this information. You find tools that work for you. There's lots out there. There's vagus nerve stimulation. That's pretty cool stuff. Rhythmic breathing. These sorts of things, meditation. What else? Cold exposure, breath work, as I said. All of these, they work to literally shift your vibration by regulating the system. They change your state, restore the calm, etc. So what you're looking to do, when I say regulate the system, take control of which system is needed at the time. And then that's going to be what you put out into the world. Okay, so number 5 is more of a philosophical perspective. I like a bit of philosophy too. Nothing is ever truly still. Nothing. So even when things look still, they're really not. You know, the chair that I'm sitting on, that's very comfortable, by the way. The chair I'm sitting on, it's made up of tons of, atoms constantly in motion. Your body, when it's at rest, it still has a heartbeat. It still has breath. Your thoughts are still moving. Things are still moving in your body, even though you're asleep or at rest. So even when you feel stuck, those stuck emotions are still shifting, maybe so slightly. And sometimes it's below your awareness too. It's not something that you're consciously aware of. And this idea, which is, it's an ancient philosophy, isn't it? However, it's also modern science as well. This is to remind us that everything is in motion all the time. So even when it feels like, life has paused, everything's stopped, it really hasn't. You're just in between the stops, So what I want you to take away from that is, instead of using that language of I'm stuck, I can't go anywhere, I can't move, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck, bring it back internally. Ask yourself, where is movement already happening? And I just haven't noticed it yet. It's a great question to ask yourself and sit with in the quiet. Where is movement already happening that I haven't noticed yet? It could be really subtle. A mindset shift, a new thought, a moment of stillness that comes before momentum kicks in. Because everything is always moving all the time. The speed may change and we're not always aware of it. So slow yourself down and pick up where the movement is. Number 6 is about resonance, about your thoughts having resonance. So thoughts are vibrations too, right? They're moving things. They ripple through your mind and through your body. And if you repeat a thought often enough, it's going to become a pattern. It's going to become a habit, or it's going to become a belief. It'll be part of your identity if you repeat it enough. I see thoughts like tuning forks. Now, a tuning fork, let's go down just another little tiny tangent here. A tuning fork is a metal instrument. When it's struck, okay, it vibrates at a specific frequency. Now, here's a really cool bit. If you have another tuning fork nearby, okay, here's my 2 tuning forks, that's tuned to the same frequency, it will start vibrating on its own without even touching it. It will vibrate on its own based on the one that you've done. This is resonance, okay? So your brain is a vibrational instrument. Your thoughts have a mental frequency based on emotion, belief, repetition. So when those thoughts are strong and consistent, they begin to influence not just your own emotional state, but the emotional state and the emotional tone of the environment, the relationships, your decisions. Just like that second tuning fork, other people and situations will start to resonate with the energy that you're putting out. Like, that's powerful stuff, right? Holy crap. So here's what I want you to take away from that. Be very intentional with your repetitive thoughts. What are you broadcasting? Because what you keep repeating internally, that's what you're putting, that's the vibe you are putting out into the world. That's the energy. Okay? So if your internal message is low, negative, not helpful, disrupt the signal. We've got to change that signal, switch it up so that you're putting something better out that's going to serve you instead of keep bringing you down. This brings us really beautifully into number 7, sort of same, but different. Like attracts like. This is resonance theory. In plain terms, resonance happens when 2 things vibrate at the same natural frequency, okay? And they begin to sync up. This is physics, not just spiritual shit. This really happens. It's science, yo. Think of have you ever seen videos or whatever of a singer when they can reach that certain exact pitch and it shatters a glass. That's so cool. Like, oh my God, how'd she do that? I say she. Anyway, or what about fireflies? Fireflies can actually flash in unison. As far as I know, they're not talking to each other. So how does that happen? Even clocks on the same wall will eventually tick in harmony. I shit you not, look it up. Clocks, metronomes, even heart cells. There's even evidence of that, which is really cool. They can and do sync together through resonance under the right conditions. So these are all examples actually of what's called resonant coupling. Very, very exciting stuff to read about and learn about. All of these resonant systems, they are things that tune together over time. Now, bring this back to what I'm talking about. You're not just, as I said in the beginning, you're not just skin and bones and, muscle or whatever. You're a walking, talking, electromagnetic, frequency emitting being. And the sooner we accept that and embrace that and feel empowered by that, the more we are going to have an impact on the world around us, a positive impact. Your mood, your beliefs, your tone, your body language, your thought patterns, all of it, they all carry a sort of signature. Yep, a vibe. Let's call it a vibe, shall we? And other people unconsciously pick up on this. So here's the kicker about it, and what I was just talking about having a positive impact around us. You tend to attract and amplify experiences, people, and outcomes that match your dominant internal state. Let me say that again. You tend to attract and amplify experiences, people, and outcomes that match your dominant internal state. Wow. This blew me away when I first learned about this stuff. In psychology, what we're talking about for those psych nerds out there like myself, we're talking about emotional contagion, where you match the mood of the group that you're in. Confirmation bias, where you seek proof for what you already believe. And behavioral priming, where your subconscious guides you to behave in ways that will match what you expect is going to happen. Let's give you some examples, like just real world, basic, simple examples, okay? Which can be a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. However, remember, this is not about blaming each other or yourself. It's not about blame at all. This is about becoming aware of how much internal power we have and utilizing that to create a better life for ourselves, okay? It's only ever about that. Become aware of how you operate. Learn your operating system, and then you can control it. That's what this is about. So, yes, some examples. If you're stuck in a victim mindset, you will actually resonate with people who either want to rescue you or keep you stuck. That will often be the two people that will keep sinking in with you. Okay? If you're really focused on self-growth, you'll start noticing and attracting mentors that are aligned with what you want to do and want to learn. You'll start attracting content from, again, what you want to learn, what you want to grow into, and opportunities for that as well. If you expect rejection, you'll unconsciously act in ways that make others pull away from you. And when they pull away, you'll say to yourself, see, I knew it. Resonance doesn't lie. It reflects. It's out there. It's real. Whether you're talking tuning forks, people, or your inner world and your outer life, things will match frequencies. So what you focus on and feel most often becomes the frequency that you broadcast. And the world will tune into that. Okay? So what's the action for this step? It's a practice of frequency intention. So, when you start your day, or when you're about to head out somewhere? What about, instead of just focusing on what you want to do, what if you focus on how you want to be? What's the energy that you want to put out there? What do you want to broadcast? Do you want to move with calm? Do you want to move with confidence? Do you want to hold a frequency of groundedness even when things might get chaotic around you? Do you want to keep your focus on finding the joy even in the small things? This is intention, and it takes you, training your brain to make that the most dominant thought, so that that's what you're going to broadcast. Then that's what you will create in your surroundings. And the final one, number 8, the world is responding to your frequency, which is pretty much what we were just talking about, isn't it? Whether you believe it's spiritual, energetic, or just psychological, it's one thing's clear about it, isn't it? How you show up affects the experience. So your life becomes a feedback loop for whatever you're putting out there. If you keep getting shit coming back in, look at what you're sending out. What are your thoughts like? How are you talking to yourself? What do you believe about yourself? We need to upgrade our inner state so that the outer world will adjust accordingly. That will take care of itself when we take care of ourselves. That's the important thing. So here's the action for this final point, an audit of sorts of your input. What are you putting in? What people are you listening to and surrounding yourself with? What's the media and social media and TV and movies? And what are you inputting in the way of media? Music, food, what else? Just the environments that you're in. What are you engaging with? Because everything carries a vibration. Are they lifting you or are they draining you? Yep. So let me wrap this up. Managing your internal vibration, it's not about the good vibes only catchphrase. I'm not about that. It's about emotional fluency. Do you know your emotions? Do you know how to control them? Energy hygiene. Do you know where your energy level is at? Do you know what you're bringing to the table in the way of energy and emotion? And then I'm talking about radical self-awareness. As I said before, not about blame. It's not about putting anyone up here or down there or right or wrong, good or bad. It's self-awareness, learning about you, learning how you tick so that you can control you. You decide, you become empowered. And so the goal isn't always to be high vibe. That's also not what I'm talking about just always, high vibing. It's about how to return to that resonance with you, to be in sync with yourself, with your values. Yep. So your vibe, vibe is just such one of those funny words that I used to avoid like the plague because it felt so, like it was just some sort of TikTok aesthetic. Like this is such a cool vibe. And I really avoided it because I didn't like it triggered. However, I will say that what if we view your vibe as your nervous system, your self-talk, your patterns, all humming together? That's what we're working on. You can shift it. You can move from like a low frequency kind of funk when life has just kicked you in the guts. You can shift that when you're ready without having to rely on anyone else to, pick you up. You can do that. You can be empowered and do it yourself. I've created a free PDF guide, which I'm going to put a link in the episode description or in the comments. Have a look for it. It's called the Vibe Check-In, and it's a self-audit to realign yourself when you're feeling or even just wanting to check if you are aligned or if you're a bit out of alignment. It's really simple, it's actionable, and it helps you get back in tune with yourself. As I said, this is about radical self-awareness. All right? That's about it. I'll wrap this up. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Let's do this together. Raise our resonance instead of our blood pressure for a change. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.